Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Godwin Owana. I'll be taking us on the course AXE 409, which is Extension and Communication Engineering Professional Ethics. In the course of this study, we'll be going through the following units: the historical background of extension service and community development professional and professions in Nigeria, the concept of community social engineering, Unit 3, gender integration into community engineering procedure. And down that way till Unit 11, which ends with monitoring and evaluation. That's where monitoring for effective management, evaluation for effective management. I'll be taking this units in groups. I think I'll start with Unit 1 as an introduction, then Unit 2 and 3, and then 4 to 7, and then 8 to 11. Just like that. In 4 videos, we'll be done with this course. And you have the course material with you, it's on the platform. Please do well to go through your course content, and then at the end, there will be an assignment given to you based on this course, which will be personal to you based on your experience and what you've learned from the course to put it together into something as it pertains to the course. So we'll begin immediately, and we'll be starting with the first unit, which is historical background of extension service and community development profession in Nigeria. And just to give a little background, this is not just all of extension, but you know, Nigeria has been a farming country, just like other countries of the world. Agriculture is rooted in man's occupation. I mean, you know, first hunting and then, hunting for both fruits and fishes and animals. Then domestication came in, and Nigeria is not left out. But in Nigeria, we can trace the evidence of what we'll say conscious efforts towards agriculture as a nation to the history of agricultural extension. We can put it together because agricultural extension is agriculture per se, but it's more of the human side of it, where you are trying to help the farmers or those who are farming in a way. So there's always been one form of help provided farmers, I'm sure. In Nigeria, however, we can trace evidence of conscious effort to development of agriculture as a nation. And the history of agricultural extension and community development is tied to this history of agriculture because you can't separate them. Ever since people have been farming, there's always been someone to advise people on what to do, or people have been sharing advice, sharing information about best practices, the seeds, I mean, right from time immemorial. So we can't separate it. Agricultural extension is basically an integral part of agriculture. So, according to Akubilo, the first trace of agricultural extension service was when the Department of Botanical Research was established at Lokomeji in the western province of Abeokuta. And in 1905, the headquarters of that department was moved to More Plantation at Ibadan. It operated as a research station, and that was at the then headquarters of the Southern Nigerian Department of Agriculture. Later, a training school was scheduled in 1921 at More Plantation, that's Ibadan. Then the similar schools like that were established in Samuru Zaria in the north in 1924 and in Umudike, in the east in 1995. This was because of the different distinct regions we had at the time. We had the north, east, west, and the midwest region. So these were to represent each of that, and it was more political. It was to unify the regions together. However, it didn't work. And so separate ministries were created for each of the regions. Extension work all this while, all this season of this making of these regions was more of providing things, producing crops on experimental trial basis, improving, maintaining soil fertility, marketing, training of people on organized agricultural educational programs and all. It was not until 1962 that extension work really began when there was a collaboration between the Ministry of Agriculture and the and USAID, and some of the extension experts came over and then began to do some work. It did not that was in the other region, in the eastern region. That was in the eastern region. Then in the northern region, it was more of the Ministry of Agriculture working with native authorities who were involved in extension. The native authorities, those indigents of the land. This is important because in the north they have their peculiarity. So these people have to be the ones to talk to farmers because they may not accept others. These ones who speak their language and they know their tradition, they know things about them, and were the ones that could penetrate them. So the native authorities had their own agricultural department and appointed their own staff, and they were advised by the ministry officials on how to do their extension work. But basically, extension was consisted of trying to convince farmers to engage in export crops, put into their farming. And this was because, it was political. At that time, Nigeria was still being ruled by the colonial masters. And so it was so that they could grow crops that would be taken outside, to the host country. Things like cotton, cocoa, and all those crops, cotton, granules that were needed over there. So export crops, when you plant that, they will give you grants. Grants was provided by the Emperor Cotton Growers to strengthen the extension. So extension was going about convincing people to engage in this and how to engage, supplying them seeds, low transportation, these are things that will entice them, encouraging them to do mixed cropping, so that they can also have their own crops in within local crops that they can eat apart from the ones they are giving out. So they give all these things to improve. This was the extension happening at the time. Then in the south, extension was conducted based on field basis with the headquarters at Ibadan, still had that there, and the extension efforts were directed mainly at cocoa for the west and oil palm for the east and rubber for the midwest. Schemes were introduced to enhance production, processing, distribution of these crops, and it included the teaching of farm management and processing of farm produce. So the extension organization has since then been established in all the 36 states. I mean, by now we know that every state has their own department now, and the organization of each state reflects what's happening in the states, their cultural problems, their resources, the zone, the temperature, the topography, and the soil, edaphic factors, and all that. That is each of the states tries to manage their agricultural settings. But the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources is still responsible for the entire country, and the state ministries are answerable to them. So that's a short history of agricultural extension, Nigeria, and community development efforts. Because you can't separate agriculture extension from community development. As this happens, talking to farmers, they also advise about living their life, taking care of their homes, using their children well, and all those things. So that's a short history of quick extension. The resources for this is Akubilo. You can find that and read more on that. So that's the end of Unit 1. Thank you very much.